Um, so we're going to look at how to import a couple different types of files into Godot. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my project. There. And so basically the first thing that we're going to look at is importing 3D files. So far we've just been working with primitives, which is, good for designing a scene and adding stuff. But if you want to have more detailed geometries, you can create those geometries. We're not going to look at that. I'm just going to look at downloading some geometries. But you can create your own, or you can find open source geometry, and we're going to look at how to import it. There's an import tab that will have some settings that we can look at once we get a file in here. And then if you go to project settings and go to import defaults, there's also different types of importers for different types of files. So we don't really need to worry about this too much because we're not going to be using um, any of these specific types of files right now, but there are some defaults that you could set for like textures and things like that. But we're gonna ignore that now. And then we're gonna also want to organize our files. Um, so the first thing I'm gonna do is look for a 3D object that I can download. There's a lot of different websites that will have Creative Commons 3D objects. If we just Google 3D objects, Creative Commons, we're going to see Sketchfab is a good website to use. There's creativecommons.org, Blender Nation, Open Game Art is a good one. There's another one that I usually. Itch.io is going to have some assets on there. Let's see. Oh wow, there's a lot. Opensource.com, Chronos.org. Okay. Anyway, there's a lot of different ones. Let's just go ahead and take a look at Sketchfab. It's a good site where you can publish models and people can download them and stuff. So if you're looking for something specific, so this is Creative Commons models. Creative Commons is a license, which essentially means that other people can use these models. So let's see, if we wanted to use this tree, we could click on this. And then Sketchfab has like a viewer. We can take a look at it. So we can rotate it around and zoom in and out and look at the details. We can look at the settings here, change the textures, you can look at the model, look at different stuff here. And then once we decide we like it, we can also look at the information here. This is the user. This is the Creative Commons license that they use. So it says Creative Commons attribution, which means the model for free, but you have to give attribution to the creator. So if you were to publish this somewhere, you would just have to mention the. So anyway, if you decide you like this model and you want to include it in your scene, you can click on Download 3D. It looks like you have to log in, so I'm going to log in real quick. Hopefully I remember my password. Okay. If I log in with email. It says that, I thought I had an account. I mean, I definitely have an account. Oh, lost password. Okay. Have that password real quick. Um, I don't. Maybe I created an account with something else. See if I can just log in with my. Okay. All right. This is good enough. I'm logged in. Google. Anyway. Uh, Now I can't scroll. Okay. So I'm going to download the 3D model. And so it's telling me again, I have to credit the creator, so I can copy the credits here. I might want to include them in some notes somewhere. So let's see, do I have any? No, let's make a text file and just paste this in here. And then I'm just going to click save. And so I'll just put this somewhere in the game folder. So I'll be able to cite it later. So I'll put this as sources.txt and save that. And so, if I publish it on itch.io or something like that, I would just mention that in the description of itch.io. Anyway, now we're ready to actually download it. And so you can see there's a few different formats here. And you can see they're all very different. So FBX, this one is 42 megabytes. USDZ is 5 megabytes. GLTF is 40 megabytes. And then there's a GLB, which has one file that's 41 megabytes and one that's 5 megabytes. So it's actually a pretty large model. I didn't think this model would be this big. It's kind of crazy, honestly. Let's see if we can find a model that's a little less crazy. Uh, let's see. Oh, these are really large models. Okay, let's go for something smaller. I don't want to. Let's go for a low poly, and we'll say licenses. You can just choose all these Creative Commons licenses. And oh, here's a whole nice pack of trees. Those are pretty nice. So now if I click download here, okay, these are a lot more reasonable because they're low poly. So I'm going to go with these. So it's just 161 kilobytes or 675 for the GLB. So the different file formats have different attributes. GLB is probably the easiest one to work with. It's going to have everything kind of stuck together, and it's a relatively new format, but it's very efficient. So it's becoming much more widely adopted across platforms. So the easiest one to use here is going to be either the GLTF or the GLB, which are part of the same family. But I'm going to go with GLB. Just that's going to be the simplest one for me to use. So I'm going to click download here. And that's going to take a second to download. And so once I've got that downloaded, I can just put it into my game folder. So I've got my game folder open already. And you can make a new folder here. You might have different, you could either categorize this as like an external source, or if you make it, you might want to just call it a model or something like that. I'm going to call this models. So some of you guys have probably done some 3D modeling before, so you could create your own models if you want to. So now I'm just going to open up my another window and go to my downloads folder. And so there's my GLB file. Okay, here's my GLB file. So I'm just going to put this into my new models folder. And now when I go back to Godot, I'm going to import it. And you can see it has some materials built. And then there's my tree pack. It has an X on it for some reason. That doesn't cause any issues. Trees are very, very large. So I can drag and drop it right in there. Let's take a look at this. And so I'm going to say open anyway. And so here's my tree. and it's really, really large. And I can't zoom out any further. So let's try to scale it down a little bit. I'm going to go to transform, and I'm going to scale it down point. Okay, there we go. So here's my trees. They're still really way, way bigger than my scene. I don't really know why they're so large. Uh, so I mean, what I would probably want to do is open this in a program like Blender or something and make some edits to this. But basically, I have my geometries. Um, they're all kind of part of the same thing. So let me see if I can separate them. Okay, so that's one. Here's another one here. Okay, so all of these trees are separated into these little circles. So I can see these different geometries here. And let's say I just wanted this one tree in my scene. What I can do, since these are all part of this like larger node tree, and it's really, really large, let's scale this down. Okay. So there's the tree. Let's say I just want that one tree right here. Let's give this a new name. So I'm going to say this is, I'll make it so I can remember it. I'm going to go back to level 1 here, and let's delete this tree that I imported here. And what we're going to do is called merging from a scene. So I'm going to click on my level 1, and then I'm going to right click. I'm going to say merge from scene. And so then I'm going to go to my models folder, and we got to save the scene. Okay, so let's save this scene. Won't let me do that. Okay, let's make a new scene. Go this. Okay. And we'll save this as model. Okay, now let's try it again. So we're gonna go to merge from scene, go into my tree model. Okay, so this file isn't really organized the way it should be. I guess that's one of the downsides when you're just downloading random files. But let's see if we can get this out anyway. So maybe what I can do is duplicate this, call this tree. And okay, let's scale this down again. Okay, so now let's just delete all the other geometries. Okay, so this. Okay, so let's grab all these. There we go. So now we just have the one that we want. And so let's center that. And here we go. It's scaled up like crazy amount for some. Now we can reset this. Yeah, so this model is not particularly well organized, but now that we've kind of looked through it a little bit, we can fix it up a little bit, and it's a little bit better. Okay, so now we've got our tree all set up the way we want it to. And so let's go back. Telling me it won't save it. Name this. Okay. Now we've got it in a normal setup. Now I can go to merge from scene. And now I'm going to go to tree 1 and click open and open my tree scene. And now that it's not set up in a crazy way, it's actually pretty much the right size that I want. And there we go. So hopefully when you download a model, it's not going to be quite as messy. But that's how we can get it into our scene. And now if I run the scene, now there we have some geometry that we just downloaded inside our Godot scene. So again, oh, it's still giving me this error. It's, name. Okay, still getting a bunch of errors from this. I'm not really sure why, but we can deal with that later. Just close the out. Okay, so you can use other files besides GLB. You can use FBX or OBJ. There's lots of different 3D files, but GLB or DLTF is going to be the standard that's going to be the most with. That's what I would recommend downloading if it's an option. All right, so that's getting a 3D file. So we also mentioned getting some sound files in. So let's look at how to do that real quick. We can go over that later. Yeah. Okay. So let's go over that when we're done with this part. Okay. All right. So for this one, I'm going to go to Open Game Art and just find some sound effects. Again, you can create your own sound effects, but just for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to find something here. So I'm going to go to sound effects, and let's say I want to find like a sound for my character. Let's say I want to find like a jump sound. Search for jump. Um, and let's see. Got a jump landing sound. Oh, okay. That's okay. It's not great. Kind of funny. Some of these are like libraries. Let's take a look at the library. Okay, so there's a bunch of different sounds in here. Uh, this also probably has, yeah, so this is also copyright attribution. Let's just go ahead and download this so we can find something in there. And then I'm gonna copy this to add to my notes. Okay, so here's my sources. So I'm gonna add another source. I wanna make sure to keep all of this information used for later. I'm just gonna put that in my sources text file. And it's almost done downloading. Okay, so now I'm gonna put this into my project as well. So I'm gonna go to my game template folder and make an audio folder first. I'm gonna make a new folder and call this audio. And so for my zip file, I'm gonna open this up first. So I'm gonna say extract all and just extract it directly to the downloads folder. And so let's go in there. You can use a WAV file. That's going to be a higher file quality. And let's see, here's some different jump sounds. Okay, that's pretty good. Good. All right, let's go with the first one. I'm just going to drag this over here. So you could use multiple sounds. I'm just going to use one as an example just to keep it simple for now. And so let's go back into Godot. And here's our jump audio. So I'm going to go over how to do this. We're going to have to adjust our code a little bit to do this, and I'll upload the code later for you guys. But it's actually pretty simple. So I want to add this jump audio when my player jumps. So I'm going to open the player scene, and then I'm going to create an audio instance. So I'm going to hit the plus button. And if I type in audio, there's a couple different types of audio. One is just the default audio, which is going to play the same everywhere. Then I have 2D audio, which I can pan left and right. And then I have 3D audio, which is going to sound different depending on my relationship in space. So as the player, we are going to always be where we are when we're jumping, but we can use 3D audio here just so it kind of mixes with the rest of the sound. So I have an audio node, and I just have to add in my audio there. I'm going to change the name of this. So I'm going to call this. And then the stream is where we actually add in the audio. So I'm going to click load here and go to audio and go to jump and click open. So now I have the stream there. So if this was like background music or something like that, I would be done. I could just click on autoplay, and now this would just play when I play the scene. So there we go. But this is a sound effect, so we want to tie it to a specific event in the game. So there's some other fields here that I can change, like the sound level. I can pitch the file here. So there's a bunch of other stuff I can do here, but I'm going to ignore most of that. If I want to play this audio file, I have to open up my script, and I have to find where I want to play it. So that's actually not too hard to find. I'm just going to scroll down here and find where I press the jump button. So it's right here. If action, just press jump. So I can just add into this little section my audio file. And so I'll upload this code later, but I'll show you guys it's really pretty easy. If I want to reference, the script is attached to the player. And so I can actually reference anything inside of the player by using a $sign. You can see another instance in the script where I did that to reference the head and the camera. And so the $sign is referencing something inside of my scene hierarchy. So if I want to play a sound, I'm just going to use the $sign, and it actually brings up a menu of everything that I can get with the $sign. So I'm just going to find that jump sound. And then if I put a dot here, I can say dot play. And that's going to play that sound when I hit the jump key. So if I go back to my level and run this scene, now we have a jump scene associated with our button. So there's obviously a lot of other sounds that you might want to add in there. You could add background music. You could add sounds that go along with buttons. And you would have to adjust. For some things like background music, you can just play the sound. But for other things, you're going to have to adjust the code. So if you have something specific you want to do, let me know, and we can talk about how to adjust the code together. So let me actually upload this code. I'm going to open up my GitHub. And what I can do, I don't want to actually upload this model that I just used. So I'm going to go to repository setting. And for now, I'm just going to ignore the models folder. Okay, so now all I've changed is the player controller to change the script to add the jump sound here. So actually going to turn everything off and only upload the player controller. So say adds jump sound effects and commit that. And so then I can push that, and I can go to do on GitHub. And so now I've only updated that script. So if I go to my scripts and go to player controller, I really just added one line of code, so it's not that exciting, but you can see where it is right there. So I'll put this in the class channel. Okay. So anyway, that is everything that I wanted to cover. So there's obviously a lots of other types of files that you can add into your Godot project. But the main ones that you'll probably want to add in are things like these types of geometries and the materials and textures that they come along with. So now I have this model and it has a bunch of different materials that I can use. And as we saw, sometimes there can be some like challenges once you get the model and the way that the file is organized. You may have to like look at it and figure out where the actual geometry is. I think most of the files you download will probably be a little bit more well organized than the one we got. Um, but you can always, if you have a model that you want to use and you're having trouble with it, let me know and we can look at how to get it into your project. So yeah, I'm gonna stop there. Uh,